Hey everybody, what's going on? Thad here from the Vorpal board crew, here with my friend Rachel, the organized DM. Just DM'd game number 3 of the Dungeons of Destruction with her homemade terrain, or her actual business terrain. Holy cripes. I can't believe we beat that. I didn't think there was a chance in hell that we were going to beat that at all. At the 10-minute mark, I thought we were toast.
I'm so proud of you guys. You came up with some really ingenuity and really good strategy for taking it on.
What do you think about doing speed D&D? I've asked Dan and Art the same thing.
It's very different from my normal DM and player style, but it's a really fun challenge. You have to have a completely different strategy going in as both a player and as a DM. And you have to make very quick decisions. And sometimes they're not great decisions, but they're hilarious.
This is Do you like playing this way or do you like DMing this way?
I
What's your
think
favorite?
I think I almost like playing this way a little bit better than DMing this way.
Mm.
I loved DMing this. This was really fun, but it was also very stressful because I was juggling a lot of things very rapidly. And I think as a player, just having a couple of turns in between when you're going and have to make a decision on what you're going to do kind of helps you not be so anxious. Like
Yeah.
you guys were joking that I was giving you heart attacks, but I am right there with you.
Oh, that's true. I mean, the whole time as the dungeon master, you are constantly thinking through the whole thing. You
Yeah.
don't get a breath, unlike the rest of
Nope.
us. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's kind of fun, and I think a build like this was absolutely perfect to. And I liked that it was so completely different than what Dan and Art did, but it was still insanely challenging and a super lot of fun to play. Um, Now that you've done it,
Mhm.
would you do anything differently?
Probably yes. There were a couple of things that I didn't do originally. Like he has a lot of legendary resistance and actions and things that he
Yeah.
could have been doing on top of his normal things. And I think if I had introduced those a little earlier, I might have challenged you guys even more. Got you even closer to that 0 mark on the timer. But I think the way that it was ran was good. I think we needed a solid win for the team.
Yeah. Well, and I'm serious. I thought at 10 minutes we were toast. But did did you end up buffing the crystals at all?
No,
No.
they were DC 20, and then basically they had 50 hit points, and so you guys pretty much had to hit them twice with the amount of damage that you were doing.
Yeah.
The one in the back was the one that you guys got so close it had 1 hit point.
Oh no way.
It did, and it was so stressful because I was like, oh no. But
uh,
yeah.
and I was wondering how I beat it with Mold Earth, which normally is not like a damaging spell, but I got super lucky today with that. Because my wizard
Yeah,
is not built for this.
it was a really good use of that spell, one that I haven't really seen used before, and it just made sense because crystals are very hard, but they're also very brittle.
Yeah.
And if you exert pressure, they're gonna shatter. And so I just really liked the way that you were using that kind of like as a press against the ceiling and really putting stress on them. I think it
Thank
was
you for
awesome.
the DM flex on that, because that's definitely not covered anywhere in the rule book.
No,
Uh,
it definitely isn't. But sometimes you just have to kind of make those rules and be like, okay, we'll do it this way.
yeah. So let's walk through your build. Um,
Sure.
the First and foremost, I mean, you made this, which is fantastic.
I did. I made everything on the screen that you see except for the miniatures. Most of those are whiz kids, but I did paint them. So,
Cool.
but yeah, the basis of this is my tile system. In this case, it's my castle tiles. They're modular tiles. I have a dungeon tile set. I have a cave tile set. They all work together, so you can build sets upon sets upon sets, and they're really useful. You can pretty much build anything out of them. So I didn't have to make anything in particular for this one. This challenge anyway, I just used pieces that I already had, which was very nice. Other than that, the only thing I really built for this challenge was the water tiles, obviously. I had to actually cut these so that they would fit. So like you can see this one has a groove cut out on it, so it fits perfectly around that wall. And I cut them in sections, so every 10 minutes I could add the next section and make it nice and easy on us.
Are those chipboard and then hand painted, or
No,
did you put
they're
a vinyl?
chipboard and then scrapbook paper on top of them.
Cool, cool.
And then I drew a grid on them to make it a little easier for you to see and maneuver and stuff. And then the only other thing that I specifically built for this challenge was this portal here. And I'm going to turn off my light so I don't blind you guys. But this here, it just has a lighting gel, and then it's got the 8 arcane symbols for the different types of magic and D&D around it.
Ah, cool.
And then underneath it is just a little lighting puck. You can buy them off of Amazon in a big old pack, and they're supposed to be for like under cabinet lighting or in a closet.
Yeah.
But I dropped part of it.
There goes the gel.
It was really, really easy to use. So
that's very similar to the puck lights we use for the Vorpal box. It's a closet light or an under cabinet light.
But you can do so much with them. They're so versatile, especially when you use them in terrain building. I love them.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I love lighting in general in terrain.
Yeah, it's really fun having, like, I think Art had little LEDs in his build, and then I don't think Dan, he had the crystal that lit up.
Yeah, and for that we did a little crafting. We drilled a hole in the bottom of a crystal and put a blue tea light from some terrain work that him and I were doing together for GaryCon before it got canceled. And I mean, it's super simple, but it adds so much, right?
It really does. Anytime you introduce the lighting element, I think any player or DM just kind of perks up a little bit. They're like, ooh.
The crystals, do you make those as well?
Yes, I did. They are made out of resin. They have a mica powder in them that colors them. These ones are green. Sweet. And they also have a mica powder in them that makes them glow in the dark. So if you charge them under UV light or just stick them outside for a couple of hours, when you bring them inside, they all glow in the dark.
Did you silicone cast them?
Yeah, they're silicone molds that I have, and then you just pour the resin in and you get these pretty little things, and they're super versatile, so.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And all right, so let's talk about the modularity of your system. Show us a couple little bits and pieces.
Okay, so let me explain a couple of things first. My system is based off of a 3-inch by 3-inch tile.
Okay.
A lot of the time, modules especially will be based off of 2-inch by 2-inch, but then you include walls and things get really narrow and compact, and it makes it really hard for you to build out things that your players can actually maneuver in. And then another thing about my walls is I don't make them full. Like, they're 1-inch walls, and I do that specifically to not block line of sight. Like you can see here, it's a lot easier to see like the tile spacing and maneuvering around them because you don't have a wall that's blocking things. And it's the same if you're at a table or if you're using something like Vorpal board and have a camera. That's just kind of makes it a little easier. But sure, let me pull these apart here and I will show you.
Well, and that wall height is always like one of the size of your grid and the height of your walls are always the toughest decision, whether you're a huge terrain manufacturer or you're making your own terrain. That's always the tough decision because there's no right answer.
No, there isn't, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be something that is going to be out of the norm that you have to figure out a workaround for, because no system is perfect.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so this system is also interlocking. So you can see here, these tiles are all locked together. They have these little pegs in them that you just pull out, and you can
that's super simple.
Build whatever you want with it. And then each system can be stacked on top of each other really easily. Like you see here, everything that was keeping it up is just like a hallway segment and then a double-sided segment, so anything easy.
Cool.
But these are it. I just have a bunch of like open walled and then one walled and then all of them put together make
Oh, so
something
the
really
walls
cool.
are attached.
Yep,
So
the walls are
okay,
attached.
cool. So that's one piece. What you have in your hand there.
This is one piece right here. And so it makes things really easy. You can connect them all together, have everything that you need built off to the side where your players can't see it. And then whenever you get to a specific place, you can fly it out on the table and have it ready to go. And it's really nice. But yeah. And then let's see if there's anything else about them.
You've got some of the corner pieces too.
Yes,
so you've got the hexagon edges,
which is a corner piece that's square.
Yep.
And then I have pieces over here that make it a little bit more dimensional. They're like a triangle corner piece, and you can really add some really cool build elements using something like that that kind of offsets things. But everything is, again, a 3-inch square, or at least a variant of that. So everything is going to match up. Even if you build something really weird on one side of your build, you can build something completely different on the other side, and they will match up in the back, and you can connect it all together. So it's really nice. And even though they're made out of foam, I use XPS construction foam, so it's really durable. And they are hardy. They're not going anywhere. So you can throw them around and kind of be a little rough with them. You don't want to be too aggressive, but
it's
if you throw them, you're not going to die. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like some of my miniatures. I look at some of them and I break things off of them.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, you do all the painting yourself?
I do. Everything is hand painted and everything is already assembled. No one has to paint anything whenever it gets to them. It's all table ready. So
sweet.
Yeah.
I love it. It was super neat that, it was basically all of your system, but then you threw in a couple little custom touches, like the water and the lighting was super neat too.
And the really nice thing about this system is like I said, I've got every system you can think of. I've got dungeon tiles. These are my newest collection, castle tiles. I've got cave tiles. And then every time that I do a collection release, which is usually twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, I'll usually have a new set. And then, so there are things in the future that'll be like lava tiles or ice cave tiles or whatever else you could possibly come up with. And they'll all be able to interconnect and work together. So it's really nice.
Oh, so from across sets. So
yes.
you can easily transition from like a cave system into a lava section. And
so this right here is one of my cave tiles. It's a corner section of cave tile.
Oh, cool.
And then I don't have my dungeon tiles offhand, but I have a specialty one that I made here that's an acid tile.
Nice.
And as you can see, all of these would connect and build perfectly with each other. So it's really nice that they all interconnect and work together.
Yeah, definitely. And you used today one of my personal favorite tricks of the rotisserie, right? I mean, that made it super easy to. I mean, I put the entire thing just on some foam board to kind of make sure that it's extra stable, and then it's all just on that little turnstile. Yep. And it made it really easy. Every time it was someone new's turn, I would just turn it and move to the next spot wherever they were standing. And even for home games, that trick is pretty cool. Yeah. So really, I mean, you don't have to get up out of your seat at the table.
No.
So. And
you can just spin it, or even your players can spin it if they're trying to look for something. Mm-hmm. It's really smart. I'm definitely going to steal it and use it more often.
Yeah, everybody. I don't know. We certainly didn't invent it, but everybody we tell that trick to is like, "Ooh, I love that. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool."
It's genius. It really is.
What about your? You have stair sections as well?
Oh yeah, these are stair sections. Again, they're 3 inches long. These are 2 inches wide, so that they would fit on my tiles and not have issues with like walls intersecting. And then the nice thing about these is they stack on top of each other.
Oh, cool.
So you can build a very, very high staircase that keeps going and twisting around and just using these stairs stacked on top of each other, build it all the way up.
Cool. Did you consider magnets as an option, or I mean, one, they're a pain in the butt, and two, they get pretty expensive.
Yeah, I have magnets in some of my terrain, such as my new castle wall system has magnets in pretty much everything, so that the insides of them are playable. And then several of my buildings have magnets in them because the roofs will lift off and you'll be able to play inside. But something smaller like dungeon tiles, magnets, they're a lot more trouble than they're worth from what I've seen.
Well, and especially given yours are so light, right? It would be a pain in the butt to try to pull one out without the whole thing getting all wonky.
Yeah.
I mean, the tab system works great.
Yeah.
What are the tab parts made out of?
They're made out of chipboard, so it's a 1/4-inch piece of chipboard, so they're pretty hardy. And then on the bottom of all of my tiles are again chipboard, and this is what they lock into, is in between the tile and the chipboard there's a channel, and you just put them in there, and it's on all corners of the tile, so all sides of it.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that's super slick. And what's nice about it is it's so low profile that like some other molded systems I've seen, the transitions on the edges are not very nice unless you throw an edge piece on to cover up the locking system.
Yeah. And like, you guys might not have even noticed while we were playing, there's just this very tiny black line here.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was a gap or if that's the bottom of your chipboard.
It's the chipboard, yep.
Gotcha. No, I mean, it played super well. I mean, yeah, I would put this play-wise up against just about anything I've ever played on, so it was neat. And the colors are great, too. It looks very realistic, so you're doing a killer job on the paint job.
Thank you. Yeah, it took me several tries to figure out a tile system that I really liked, and I play tested several different things on my table before I ever introduced it into my shop, and this one, I've tried to see if I could take it further, and it just keeps outperforming things. So eventually I have some prototypes for something that's maybe coming out next year, but it's still in the process.
No teaser? You don't want to tease it? Oh, okay.
Well, here, I'll tease a little bit.
Okay.
So, same system, resin. So they are very hardy.
All right. You're going to get into, are you going to go crazy and invest in a simulcast system? Or
I've already invested in a couple of things, but probably not quite to that level. But yeah, and then the nice thing about it, even though it is resin and will be hardier and stuff, it's still going to be compatible with all of my previous sets, so everything will be able to work together. So that way, everyone who has bought my other sets and wants to continue buying for me, because I have a bunch of people who just every time I have a collection, they buy everything, and I want them to still be able to use the next sets. So I wanted to make sure that everything would still work together.
Sweet. How long have you been crafting?
Let's see. Probably 3 years now.
Okay.
I haven't been doing it for very long. But
like you started crafting 3 years ago, or you started a business of crafting 3 years ago?
Nope, started crafting 3 years ago.
Seriously?
2019, I started crafting for my table with my players, and they loved my stuff, and they kept telling me, they were like, you have to open an Etsy shop, you have to sell this stuff is great. And I honestly did not expect anyone to like it. I didn't expect anyone to buy it. I kind of just opened it to say that I did it, so they would get off my back. And so I opened my Etsy shop January 1st, 2020, the year of chaos.
Yeah.
And by February, I put in my notice at my job. It's like, I can't keep up with orders and work a job, so...
That's fantastic. So you're full-time on this now.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's spring of 2020 is when we launched Vorpal on Kickstarter too, so right around the same time.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's
It was a lot.
yes. Right in the middle of the pandemic, always the best time to start a business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Super cool. All right, so you started talking about your Etsy store. I'm gonna switch layouts here really quick. We got some more fun stuff to show folks. First things first, before we get to the cool pictures, I'm doing screen sharing here. You can find Rachel, the Organized DM, on Instagram, and you're also big into TikTok as well.
Yeah, my TikTok is quite a bit bigger than my Instagram, but I still post on both platforms, and I'm active on both of them pretty much every day. So,
and then right from here, Etsy.com/shop/theorganized DM. So if you just want to Google it, it's super easy. But walk us through on your Etsy store. Is there anything super cool you want to highlight?
Sure. So the top 4 that you see there are my best sellers. They're the ones that, for the most part, kind of get the most attention. And so they've been out for probably a little over a year. That's my sewer set. They're 6-inch tiles. They're modular, so you can move it around and mix it around. And specifically, it has resin and stuff in it for the sewage, which is always kind of a big dramatic move whenever you drop that on the table and the players see that, and it actually looks like sewage. So much of the stuff that I see is like that bright green kind of like
no, your
color.
stuff is nasty.
It looks gross. Like, you do not want to step in that.
No, that's disgusting. Oh, lovely.
It really is. But yeah, so those are 6-inch tiles, modular. You can mix and match, pretty much put them anywhere. I try to make most of my stuff modular, and so far I've done pretty well with that. And then one of the other things that was up on that page was my modular cave set. Again, another really big popular one. Again, 6-inch tiles, and completely modular. Tons and tons of different situations that you can set it up in, and then you can link the cave set and the sewer set together because they are 6-inch sets. They can all work together, so it's really nice.
I love the little bridges over like the abyssy areas, and
yes,
that's super cool. And that pipe on the other one with the sewage coming out, that was crazy.
I ended up killing one of my players with the cave set the first time I play tested it, because they did not trust the bridge, and they decided they were going to mold earth, create a lip of earth around the edge of it, and get to the other side, not touch the bridge whatsoever. And one of them ended up falling in and drowned. And it was terrible because they got sucked into this underground river, and they had no con score, and they were in there for like 10 minutes, and yeah, so they just died, and I felt pretty terrible.
Oops.
Yeah. But and then the other ones you see up there, the outdoor set is kind of what almost all of my like battle board sets is based off of, like the jungle one and then the swamp one that are on the screen to the side. They're 12 by 12 inch battle board tiles, and then whatever terrain comes with them. Like in the instance of the outdoor set, it's trees and rocks to kind of complete your outdoor adventure. The jungle set is jungle scatter with a bunch of different plants. And then the swamp set has swamp trees and all sorts of stuff. And then a couple of other things you can add on to those sets also pictured in there. But so those 4 are my biggest sellers. And then if you go down a little bit more, you'll see my newest collection that just launched. And that is my Fables and Fairy Tales collection. So everything is kind of based around castles and
I'm in it already.
Of fairy tales. And so yeah, that one literally launched this week. It's been a very busy week. And so why don't we, obviously the castle tiles were the ones that I used for tonight. But why don't we take a look at that castle?
The massive castle?
the massive castle.
You mean you want to show this
So
off? I can't imagine
I
why.
do. I put a lot of work into making that system perfect. So this is, again, modular castle walls and gatehouses and towers. Everything is playable. So the towers, I don't think the pictures are on this. You might have to actually go into the individual pieces to see them. But the
They come
towers
apart.
break apart, yeah, into 3 pieces. And you can play inside. There's stairs that go up on each level and play inside. The gatehouse, the top lifts off. Inside of it, there's murder holes, so you can get whoever's coming through. There's
All right, we gotta see that.
there's a portcullis that actually raises and lowers. So the one in the front is stationary, but the one in the back you can raise and lower.
Yeah.
And then
There's your
the
murder
wall
holes.
segments. Yeah, my murder holes. I had to have the murder holes.
Oh yeah.
And then my wall segments, the side of the wall actually pops out, and so you can play inside of the wall and on top of the wall at the same time. So you don't have to like take the top off and play inside or whatever. So they're all modular. They can make some really, really cool configurations, and they're very playable. And I love that set very much. I worked very hard on that one.
Well, and just for a frame of reference for folks,
Mm-hmm.
how long does it take you? Just this piece, right? This one castle tower. How many hours?
Well, I learned very early on in my business that I had to batch build or I would never keep up. So I'll usually do something like 10 towers, but it will take me pretty much an entire week.
10 towers take you a week?
Yep, pretty much.
Even batch building? Holy cripes.
Yep, even batch building. You have to cut every single piece, and I have a Proxon foam cutter that I use. Then I also hand cut a couple of them because they're very detailed. And then you have to detail them with the texture, whatever stone texture is going on to them. Then you have to assemble everything together. Then you have to base coat it. Then you have to paint it. Then you have to detail it. Then you have to seal it. It's a lot.
Oh, so you seal everything with like a matte varnish over the top or something like that?
Yep, everything has a clear coat on it to keep it protected from whatever may be going on. So
yeah, Cheeto fingers.
I know accidents happen. I have a kid, I have pets, I travel DM a lot, so I have to throw my stuff in a tub and just bring it with me. I needed it to be hardy, so made it hardy for you guys too.
Yeah, and the detail on these is fantastic. You know, you got the runes along the top of the wall section here, and so yeah, this is not cookie cutter stuff. Are you hand carving all those grooves in with a pencil or a pen?
So I use a texture roller for the general texture, and then I will go in and hand carve specific bricks and bring them out and make it a lot more detailed. And then you see I highlight and paint
pops of color.
Colors. Yeah, it's a lot. So I am very proud of that one.
And the vines are attached?
Yep, the vines are attached.
Super cool, but you still have a cut between the breaks on where the different sections come apart. Yeah.
But yeah, you can take everything apart. There's magnets embedded in everything, so if you wanted to, you could just grab the top of the tower, pick up the whole tower. It's not going to come apart, but if you need to play inside, you just pop it off. It's really easy.
Wow. Yeah, so this is like, just this section is 3 weeks worth of work. This section. I mean, this section, it's a whole table worth of stuff, but oh my goodness.
And that's the nice thing about it, is that it is an entire table worth of stuff. Like this section that you see there is 3 inches by 2 inches, or not inches, sorry, feet. 3 feet by 2 feet. And so that's 6 feet of playability right there.
Well, so and a lot of playability too, vertically.
Yeah.
With the different levels within each section. So, man, holy cripes. I can see why you're proud of that one. That's super amazing.
I originally wasn't going to put it in my shop. I made that for myself because my home game was having a whole storming the castle thing in their series. and I had posted pictures up on Instagram, and people went insane about it. And I had originally planned for the fall collection to be ancient civilizations. Like, that's what everyone had voted on, that's what everyone wanted. They wanted temples, they wanted Egyptian, they wanted all these things. And then I posted this castle, and everyone lost their minds and were begging for me to put it in there. So then I had to reconfigure my entire production schedule and do the castle system and do fables and fairy tales and move my ancient civilizations back a slot. So,
like every great terrain company, you're shifting your plan.
Yep.
And you always got something really cool in your back pocket.
Yep.
What yeah. I think you mentioned earlier too, the the negative space stuff that gets used a lot for wargaming too, right?
It does. I have several people who reach out to me all the time, who are war gamers, who are like, hey, can you make this, but can you make it without a grid? Because I don't need that. I'm a war gamer. I'm playing 40K or whatever it may be. Or can you make this, but can you make me 2 sets that will match up so that I can have an entire table worth of terrain and just have all of this insanity? And I have quite a lot of war gamers that have reached out to me for custom orders, who have reached out to me for specific things that they want to customize on whatever terrain they're buying. So
with as busy as you are, do you still do commission custom order work?
I will do custom orders usually only in the summer because I am very busy. But usually summer's the slow season. That's kind of traditional for pretty much any kind of merchant. But I'll usually cut them off sometime mid-October, early November, and then I won't open them back up until about March. So.
Wow.
But yeah, I do quite a lot of custom orders every year. So I actually just got one finished. That was the gentleman had reached out to me. He was a war gamer, and he asked me to build him a port town, and he wanted 24 feet of table space, and he wanted specific buildings and stuff. And he said, here is what I'm willing to offer you. You have a year to do it, and you have complete creative freedom. And so it was really fun. And that's one of my favorite to date custom orders that I've done. And cool. I'm currently in the process of taking pictures of it, because he was like, you take all the time you need, take as many pictures as you want before you ship it out. And so that'll probably be all over my Instagram and stuff soon. So
awesome. That sounds like a fun project for sure.
It really was.
I got to imagine, I mean, sometimes just the creativity side of doing something as a one-off seems like it could be fun.
Yeah.
And, working with, especially if they're a good client, right? Working with them and figuring out what it is they want and trying to morph it. It's nice he gave you complete creative freedom.
Yeah, so. And he has been doing this for, I think he said 30 years or so. He's been collecting for different games and war games and stuff. And he was like, I want a massive centerpiece to display my collection on. And he said, I've been watching your shop for a while. I think you're it. And he's said, I love everything you do. I want your specific spin on what you think a port town would be. And kind of just gave me carte blanche. And he said, I want these specific buildings, but you get to decide how they're created. And it was just very cool. So
Sweet. I'm looking forward to seeing that one on Instagram for sure.
It's gonna be a big one.
So let's talk about your gaming. So you have a home game, obviously, which you mentioned earlier. Has it been going on for a long time?
I DM a homebrew that has been going on for a little over 2 years now.
Cool.
And the people that I play with are really great. We had some ups and some downs at the beginning of the pandemic when we were trying to play through Facebook Messenger. I really wish we had found Vorpal a little earlier, because that would have made things immensely more easier.
Facebook.
But
That's a first. I haven't heard that one before.
it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So, but and then other than that one, I also play in a game that's been going on for about a year that my fiance DMs, and it's Icewind Dale, and we're almost done with it.
Cool.
We are in the big last battle, and then after that, we're going to move on to Curse of Strahd. So,
oh, good luck with. Are you gonna DM for that one, or you still get to play?
I still get to play. I'm going to be a turtle monk, and I'm going to punch Strahd in his face.
Good luck with that.
But yeah, we ended up buying the like expanded super crazy Curse of Strahd edition that had been like just released this year, and then my fiance bought a ton of stuff and dumped it on my table and was like, honey, I love you, will you paint this for me? Will you gift me this? So and he of course took one look at my castle stuff and he was like, Ravenloft.
Yeah. I think as it sits right now, you could turn that into Castle Ravenloft. Don't let him make you make a custom piece for that. I would love to see a legit Ravenloft. I'm sure there's somebody that's done it at some point.
Oh, I'm sure.
But man, that's the adventure very few people make it through. But,
yeah.
You know what the heck? You should be allowed to be able to die on occasion, right?
I mean that's just part of adventuring at this point. Like I can't think of a single campaign that you wouldn't possibly die on. Everything is pretty dangerous. So
okay. So I've asked everybody this question. I'm gonna keep asking everybody of it. But how long have you been playing Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop in general?
So Dungeons and Dragons is probably close to 4 or 5 years, not entirely sure. We started with 5e, and before that we were playing Pathfinder First Edition, and we probably 3 or 4 years with that. So I'm still under a decade, but I'm getting close. And then we sprinkled in there was also some Starfinder games, and then a couple of other different things, Call of Cthulhu, and but we've been sticking with 5e because it has really good mechanics that we really enjoy, and then we've homebrewed a couple of things, but for the most part it's everything we've needed. So
where do you think it's super popular these days, right? I mean, D&D in general has gotten crazy popular during the time frame while you've been playing it.
Yes.
Where do you think it'll be a decade from now?
I feel like it's so much more mainstream now, and it's more socially acceptable for people to play it, but also to talk about it, which means that they're bringing in new players that previously wouldn't have heard about it. Like whenever I got brought in, my friend Jamie and me were out on a hike, and she said, "Oh, you should come to the house later. We're playing Pathfinder." I looked at her like she was a crazy person. And so I was like, "Okay, I'll play one game. I feel like this is going to be weird, but I'll play one game." But I got so sucked in, and now this is my life. So I feel like more and more people are going to be included in it because it's so much more mainstream, and there's massive streams like Critical Role, and then Roll20, and then a bunch of smaller streamers are putting their stuff out there too. And I feel like it's just going to be more household, more socially acceptable, and things are going to get more technologically advanced with it. Like you guys are crazy technology that did not exist previously. And then Roll20, again, crazy technology that did not exist. And then like D&D Beyond, crazy technology that is just bringing the game forward. And then I can't remember what it's called, but I swear I saw something about a virtual D&D game, like with virtual goggles.
Yeah, there's a new VR system that just is, well, there's a couple that are out, but there's one that's getting pushed pretty hard now.
Stuff like that I think is just going to keep pushing it and evolving it, but I don't think we're ever going to get past what we started with. because we still pull out whiteboards every once in a while, draw, withdraw, erase, and just play. And even though things are changing, things are very much the same. It's still the same stories being told. It's still the same dynamics between players and DMs and stuff. And I just think it'll continue to grow and add more people, but kind of stay the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and you being a crafter that, you know, you sell your craft, and in the impetus of Vorpal board, it's like part of the hobby is the tactile things, right? That,
Yes.
and I really hope that the tech never, I mean, AR, VR, fully virtual tabletop stuff. There's certainly a lot of people who love that, but
Yeah.
I hope to think that there's still a lot of people that love the tabletop stuff, whether it's miniatures or terrain, like touching it, physical dice.
Yeah, I think the dice is going to be the thing that saves us, the tactile people, because the dice goblins will never, ever, ever get rid of their dice collections. And I don't think you use dice with the virtual stuff. I think you just roll with virtual, like, dice.
You can.
Which,
I mean,
but
here's my take on the dice. I have a huge collection of dice too, and I love my dice, and I have some really, really nice dice. But the one thing I do like about doing the digital dice when you're playing a completely remote game is we all get the shared success and failure.
yes. Like every time, I swear Dan rolls more crits than anyone I've ever met. And every time he rolled it, we were all excited. And
then you rolled that natural 1 and that 2 on the polymorph. I mean, it's funny. That's one of those little things that, like, people who play a ton, whether it's remote or in person, like you say to somebody, can we try to roll digital dice? And they're like, really? And I don't disagree with that reaction, but it's just like, listen, do me a favor and trust me that we're gonna roll digital dice together, and it is worth that you don't get to pick your dice up and throw them because of that just like awesome moment, whether it's good or bad. But just, I mean, sometimes the funnest ones are when you roll really poorly.
Yes.
Like you and I trying to get through Art's challenge in the sand.
Oh gosh, I could not get out of that sand.
It's a good thing I had Misty Step. I would have been screwed up. I would have been where you were. I would have been stuck with a -1 strength score. So
we would have had zombies exploding all around us, stared into each other's eyes as the sand ate us.
Keep going, leave us behind. We're done. I'm also surprised nobody's left anybody behind yet.
I was telling you guys to leave me behind during Arts because I honestly did not think I was getting up.
Well, and we needed you too, right? If we had left you behind, I think we would have died because we needed your healing. So
yeah, you guys were taking a lot of damage. So
okay, cool. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about yet that you wanted to cover?
No, not really. I think we've covered kind of everything. We talked about the current builds and the terrain and how we got into D&D and stuff, and then we kind of talked about my socials and my shop, and so yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done.
So anybody can find you on TikTok at the Organized DM, Instagram,
Facebook, and then Instagram are all three under the Organized DM. I have had people begging me for years to start a YouTube, so maybe eventually that'll happen. And then, of course, Etsy. I am the Organized DM. So,
you better
and
get
my
your
link...
fiance involved if you start recording and YouTubing. It's a whole another job.
And he's way more tech savvy than I am. And that's the thing that every time I say, well, I got another request for someone to start a YouTube. And he looks at me and he says, are you willing to spend 10 hours a week just editing videos?
Well, and then like, being attached to that schedule, right? That grind of, okay, I got to get my content out. Whatever schedule you decide, a week, 2 weeks, a month. It just, it creates a pressure.
Yeah.
So on top of, your Etsy store, and then on top of your regular social media.
Yeah.
Which, all those things take a lot of time.
They do. It's amazing. Almost an entire day every week I spend my entire Monday setting up different terrain builds, photographing it, videoing it, tearing it down, setting up the next terrain build, doing it over and over, like 4 or 5 terrain builds in one day, doing all the photographing and filming, and then I just shoot them out over the week. So, but it is a full-time job, I swear.
Well, and I'm happy for you that you were able with your Etsy store to be able to quit your full-time job, because I was looking at the stuff you build and then just thinking, oh my gosh, does she have a day job too? I can't imagine.
It was terrible because I worked at a hospital here in our area. I didn't work in like anything medical. I was in the billing part of it, which was fun. But so that was 40 hours plus I usually had overtime because I was doing all sorts of projects because I was pretty much the only person who did my job. And then I would come home at night and I would do 8 hours of crafting terrain trying to keep up with my orders for my Etsy shop. And at one point, I just burst into tears in the middle of the night. And my fiance came over and he took like the knife out of my hand and he put it down. And he was like, okay, you're going to sleep. And then tomorrow we are going to talk about you quitting your job. So
good for him.
Yeah, he and my friends that I play with have been my biggest supporters with all of this. They are amazing. So
well, and I can see why. I'm glad they made you take the plunge, because you've got some really super cool stuff. This is top notch. All right, so with that, thank you all for joining. I'm Thad from the Vorpal Board crew. You can find us anywhere on social media at Vorpal Board, all the major stuff. We also have a YouTube channel. Thankfully, there's 3 of us, so we have time to do YouTubing, but we don't do it all the time. Special stuff like this, which has been a freaking blast. I'm so glad we did it. And if you like what you see, the way we played today, and even be able to do this stuff, I mean, this is all within Vorpal Board. We've got a free trial, vorpalboard.com. You can sign up for 10 days for free and give that a shot. And please follow all the amazing Dungeon Masters on social media that are part of the Dungeons of Destruction. We got our next episode coming up in a couple of weeks with Steven. So good luck to us all. I know what he's going to do for a build. You're going to appreciate this because it's something he made.
Oh, yay. I'm excited.
But totally different than anything we've done yet. So should be a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.
Thanks.